still fine with the CGI layout.
I prefer what they did, honestly, over that, because even if they had, if they'd used a different actress, I mean, I want it to be that it was so perfect. I mean, everything was just so perfect. Everything looked right. Everything felt right. You'd mentioned how they changed some of the lighting and some of the shot perspectives and used some of the deleted footage from A New Hope so that it just matched. It would have felt weird to have that one thing at the end not match.
True. No, that's a good point. It's a good point. It's almost it's frustrating to a certain extent. Like, I wish I had fresher eyes, because knowing as fans and having, the memory of A New Hope just always in our minds, when you see those shots of those pilots, those are the guys from the other film. So again, you have to kind of succumb to the movie to have it not take you out because you have the knowledge. Does that make sense? I mean, look, and I'm being very, very nitpicky here,
and this is what fans do. I mean, look, I think part of what's going on with a lot of
I bet the directors do. I bet the creators do.
Sure. Yeah. Well, you look, there's certain, and this is not a criticism. This is not like a negative thing, but there's a part of everybody that wants to find the flaws. They want to, what's bad about this? What are people not seeing? Especially when something comes out as anticipated and is celebrated as a new Star Wars movie. It's such a huge deal. It's, it's only natural that they're going to be, all right, well, it's not perfect, guys. All right, here's a couple things I noticed that jumped out at me. And so that's what's going on with a lot of this. In a lot of ways, I'm not going to say a perfect film, but it's a really well-made film. There's a lot of attention to detail. There's a lot of action. They avoided a lot of the I mean, thank God the prequels came out, because I think it gave I think it informed the choices that the creators of Force Awakens and Rogue One have made so far, because they're like, okay, let's not do some of these things that everybody has spent the last 10 years ripping us for.
Right. Well, and I hope we get to a place in the creation of these Star Wars movies where the way that we look upon them falls more along the same lines of the way we look at Marvel movies. And what I mean by that is, there's so much pressure on these films because of how popular Star Wars is, but they're always compared to one another. And I feel like we've gotten apart in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, where we compare, but it's not as big of a deal.
Mm-hmm.
We're not. I mean, I don't think we both love all the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies, but I don't think we've ever sat back and had a conversation about ranking. Which ones are better. We know they're going to be good, and they're good. And right now, Disney's kind of at least in my opinion, they're kind of in a tough spot, because they got two really good movies now. The bar is set really high. I mean, if I was Ryan Johnson right now, I'd be like, oh crap.
Oh crap.
Because I don't think I expected people to like this movie, and I'm curious to see what kind of legs it has at the box office. But I didn't expect the reaction to be what it was. I'm still very surprised at how overwhelmingly positive everybody has taken in this movie, especially in the wake of The Force Awakens. And again, the number of people that are saying it's better than The Force Awakens. And so it'll be interesting to see what happens, a couple of months from now in terms of, dollar amounts.
Yeah, I think consensus is probably going to have this, rightfully or not, and everybody's certainly entitled to their own individual opinion. But I think the consensus is going to rank this ahead of Force Awakens at the end of the day, mainly because of the very obvious criticism with the Force Awakens, which was, sort of a note for note rehashing of A New Hope in a lot of ways. You heard that from a lot of people. You heard that from people who really, really enjoyed it, who really liked it. You can't say that about Rogue One. Rogue One feels a lot more unique and feels a lot more, it felt so different than your typical Star Wars movie, than your just standard Star Wars movie. So I think in a lot of people's minds, it's going to be very easy for them to say, yeah, I like Rogue One better, because of that just one very obvious criticism of Force Awakens.
And I wonder, but I also, and again, you will never know, but I wonder if you can't get to Rogue One being as popular as it is without having The Force Awakens come first. You know what I mean? Like, if they had put out Rogue One as the first release of a Disney movie, I think that it would have been viewed through a much different lens that way. Because
that's an interesting thought experiment. Yeah, you'll never know, but right. Yeah, that's interesting.
No, yeah, because you won't. But
that point that I lost earlier when I was trying to find the word saga, the point I was going to make was that I think Rogue One is just a very good movie. Even and I said this earlier, so I'm being a bit redundant, but I think it's just a good movie. It's not a good Star Wars movie, It's just a good movie. It's a really, really good movie, and I'd be really curious to see the reaction of somebody who isn't certain, trying to find somebody who's never seen a Star Wars movie is like trying to find a needle in a haystack. But take someone who isn't so steeped in the Star Wars mythology, right?
That will be our producer Sam on Thursday, because she will not have watched the other films by then. So.
Yeah, there you go. I'd be really curious to see how they would react to this movie, because I think they'll love it. I think that person would love it, because by any standard criteria, Star Wars or not, this is a good movie. This is just a really, really good movie.
Well, I do wonder about the end, and like I said, I think our producer Sam was tasked with watching the films, and she's only watched A New Hope, and so she's supposed to watch the other ones between now and Thursday. But I think we both know that's not going to happen. But
Miller asks a very good question on or makes a good point on Twitter here, by the way, that's relevant to the podcast. Brian Miller, comedian who's on our show every Friday, says, and now the inevitable 3-movie prequel series explaining how Forrest Whitaker got his robot feet.
It's kind of already been explained because it's in Clone Wars, but be that as it may.
And then he followed up by asking, Spaced Out?
Of course, Brian Miller did.
I suggested space diabetes.
Okay, enough. Was I the only one that thought Blue Velvet with Forrest Whitaker?
I didn't, so maybe.
You know what I'm like? I kept waiting for him to go Pabst Blue Ribbon. I was.
No, I did not find myself thinking that.
Well, now I've screwed the movie up for you the next time you watch it, because when he takes a big puff out of his breathing thing, I couldn't help but think of Dennis Hopper. That was creepy too. My 10-year-old was like, "Why does he keep breathing out of the tube?"
Yeah, it's never explained.
Well, the extrapolation is, if you look at the gear he's got on, he has gear keeping him alive, similar to what Darth Vader does. So that
was a pretty easy assumption to make, right?
Yeah, that's the line of thinking, is that he's kind of like Vader, but he's not that bad, so he just has to do it sometimes.
Well, I mean, Vader lost his legs too, so
right. Yeah, well,
there you go.
Maybe he's got Vaderitis. No, I doesn't. That was borderline offensive right there.
Type 2 Vaderitis.
Well, it'll be we'll wrap up this portion of the podcast with you, but
Darthabetes.
I don't think diabetes doesn't cause you to lose limbs, does it? It needs to be like vapor.
Yeah, no, you can lose your limbs with diabetes.
Vapor C. Space leprosy. Anyways, now I've had my saga moment, and I've completely lost my my train of thought. Yeah, it's awesome. Oh, one more quick point.
Yeah, I agree.
One more quick point, though, is that It's interesting to me because the movie, while awesome and the battle scenes are amazing, it actually never crossed the line, in my view, again, of movies affecting movies. It never crossed the line, in my view, of affecting the other films. And what I mean is, I won't watch Empire Strikes Back and think, oh man, I wish that the walkers were as awesome as they were in Rogue One.
Right.
They were awesome in Rogue One, but I don't. But And I didn't watch A New Hope last night and the Death Star battle and think I wanted the battle to be more like the Rogue One battle. I thought the space battle in Rogue One was great, but having viewed it twice now, it still, in my mind, it still isn't better than the Death Star battle in A New Hope, simply because I like the pacing of that. I like the fact that in A New Hope, the space battle scenes are probably one of my favorite things about the movies. But the pacing of the battle scene in A New Hope on the Death Star is my all-time favorite battle scene ever put to screen. And the reason why, it's because of the pacing of it, how long Lucas remained on the shots of the TIE fighters and the X-Wings as they were dogfighting. It wasn't nearly as kinetic. So it's so awe-inspiring and easy to watch, where Return of the Jedi and Rogue One, great battle scenes, but there's a lot of quick cuts. And there were moments where I wanted the camera to hang on a battle going on for much longer.
Yeah, no, I agree. I don't agree with the walkers being awesome, because that's one thing that you asked earlier if there was anything I didn't like, and it's not like I didn't like this in the movie, because it's not like the director created the AT-ATs. What a dumb design for a vehicle of war. Those big walking, stupid, clunky things. It's like, what a really dumb design for if you want, you've got spaceships, right? You've got ships that can fly close to the ground.
Right.
So there's no advantage of having something on legs. Those big giant legs are just big stupid targets that are easy to take out and are impossible to defend. Why would you create those? What purpose does that serve?
I don't know. They're cool looking.
Anyway, sorry. This is a little side tangent.
They didn't anticipate, they were those are cargo walkers. They didn't anticipate being attacked by rebels, I guess.
But they're not cargo.
No, the ones in the movie are. Those ones are.
You have wheels, right? Or tanks. You can create that and stay close to the ground and not be so easily knocked over. But if you need something
I have your answer. You ready? I have your answer. You ready?
Okay. All right.
Okay.
All right.
Here's your answer.
Sure.
Okay. The Empire is what? Kind of like a really big government, right? So what do big governments do? They waste a lot of money on things they don't need to go waste money on.
Yeah. Right? Somebody's cousin was running like a defense contracting company. Like, we got this great idea, right? Here, just trust us, all right? This is going to be amazing, and sold them on it and got a big fat government contract. And then they're like, well, now we got them. We got to figure out how to use them.
That's right.
You're right. Yep. You're right.
There you go. You're welcome.
Big government.
Yes. I'm a Star Wars hardcore fan, man. I can rationalize anything, even the prequels being good.
Well, it's amazing how you can throw the words big government at something, and all of a sudden it's like, yeah, you know what? That actually does make sense. That's something they would do. Yeah. Right. You're right. That's something they would do. They're that stupid.
It doesn't make any sense in the Battle of Hoth. You've got the Star Destroyers and ships. Just fly them over and start dropping bombs. Why do you got to take the lumbering things to go walking towards them?
I know, they're the stupidest. They're the stupidest creations, I think, in the entire Star Wars universe. Is those stupid walkers?
But also the most. Awesome.
But they do look cool.
Yeah,
they do look cool. You're right. You're right.
All right, Drew. Thank you for joining me on the podcast this week, man. I greatly
anytime,
man.
It.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
Anytime, buddy.
All right.
We could do a regular show like this. Pretty sweet.
You think? No, I like being in the room with you. I prefer that.
Okay.
You take that as a compliment. I
did.
I can't tell you how much I'd like to have somebody tell me they like to be in the room with me. That'd be,
I'd like to be in the room with you, John.
Oh, thank you, Drew. I appreciate that. That means.
All right, this is getting weird.
That means a lot. I know. It is. I'm gonna go watch Blue Velvet and figure out a way to tie it into Star Wars.
All right, I gotta go give my son a ride. So I'll talk to you later.
There has been an awakening. Have you felt it?
I hope you enjoyed the podcast this week. Thanks again to Drew for joining me. I don't know when I'm going to go see Rogue One again. Hopefully. I know I'm seeing it Thursday, but I'm going to try to get another screening in between now and then. As always, if you want to email me, you can do that at talkshownerd@gmail.com. Talkshownerd@gmail.com. Find me on Twitter at John